Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm Sean Patrick Urshan. This week I have the honor and distinct privilege of being a special guest on Three from the Grave. So I want to say a big thanks to Movie Massacre, Strange Monkey, and Angela for inviting me to do so. So guys, this week we are going to discuss the 2019 horror film, The Prodigy. So The Prodigy was released early in 2019, and it was directed by Nicholas McCarthy. So the film kind of flew under the radar. It wasn't like a massive success. And I think a lot of the reason for that is it falls into a certain category of the bad child film. Films like The Bad Seed, The Omen, The Good Son, and Orphan. So that might be why audiences didn't flock to see it, because we've seen all that before. But I do feel like this film does bring something new to the table, something refreshing, and I do feel it is worth watching. So let's get into the plot, shall we? So the film starts off with this woman who's trapped in a farmhouse, and she smashes her hand through the door trying to escape, and we see that she's all disheveled. She looks like she's been through hell. So she then crawls out to the street where she almost gets hit by a car, but the woman finds her there sitting in terror, and we notice that she's missing a hand. And she lifts her arm up and says, "He took my hand." So you're like, what the hell's going on? But of course those events come into play as the film progresses. We then meet young Sarah Bloom, as played by Taylor Schilling in the film, who you might know from Orange is the New Black, the Netflix show. And also her husband John Bloom, as played by Peter Mooney. We see that Sarah's barefoot, pregnant, ready to burst, So they rush her to the hospital, where she has a healthy young child, a young boy by the name of Miles. So right away the doctors notice that there's something a little off about Miles, that he's really highly intelligent and highly advanced, a lot more than he should be. So as the film goes on, Sarah decides to send young Miles to preschool at the age of 2. And when he does go to preschool, the teacher notices that yes, he is highly intelligent and highly advanced, but he also exhibits strange behaviors. Something's a little off about him. And at one point, Miles attacks one of the other students, just because he wants to work with this young girl on a project, but they won't let him. So Miles then excuses himself from class to go to the bathroom, and he comes back with a big-ass monkey wrench and beats the living crap out of the young boy. He also likes to mess with his babysitter, so we see he plays hide and seek with the babysitter, and the babysitter covers her eyes and counts to 10, and when she opens them, he's just standing there like a creep, just staring at her, really scary, And another thing about Miles is he has two different color eyes. One of them is brown and one of them is blue. So yeah, he just stares there, completely devoid of emotion. That's what makes him so scary, And Miles, by the way, is played by Jackson Robert Scott in the film. So yeah, once the mother kind of reaches her wit's end, she wants to find out what's wrong with Miles. So she kind of takes him to different doctors and different therapists, and they don't seem to get anywhere, So the mother kind of reaches her wit's end, and she decides to seek alternative routes. And at one point you're like, what is this going to be? Is this going to be like an exorcist kind of thing? Where he's possessed or something? Is it going to be like a supernatural horror film? Or is it going to be like The Omen, where he's the son of the devil or something? But it kind of takes a little bit of a different route. Something kind of in between the supernatural and in between the reality. And that's one of the things I really like about it. So they take him to see a special therapist who is an expert on reincarnation. So that's kind of the route that this film takes, something different, reincarnation. We find out that Miles is actually possessed by the soul of a serial killer from a past life. So yeah, it's a little bit different than like The Exorcist or something. Yeah, he is possessed, but not possessed by an evil demon or something. He's possessed by the soul of a past life of his. And that's why he's got like the 2 different color eyes, because that matches the identity of the serial killer who we found at the beginning was hunting down that woman who was trapped in a farmhouse. Yeah, we find out this killer has knocked off like 9 different people, So yeah, we find out that Miles is possessed by the soul of a serial killer. And so guys, let's get down to business now. The gore in the film. Is this film gory? Well, I will say the film does have some gore in it, and some pretty good gore at that. But this isn't a slasher movie, not going to have a huge body count. But there is some nice gory scenes. But there isn't a lot in the way of kills. There's really only one straight up kill, But yeah, you do see Miles kills the family dog and leaves him nailed up in the cellar. And when they find the dog's body, it's missing a paw. So yeah, it's kind of nasty. And yeah, we also see the babysitter that I mentioned early. And when he's playing hide and seek with her, the babysitter goes down the stairs to look for him and steps on a shard of glass, and that's really nasty. But yes, we do finally see the murderous side of Miles towards the end, when he does murder the woman from the beginning of the film. So that's kind of the point, is that Sarah loses it so bad that they find out the one thing that might make Miles normal again is to find the woman that got away from him. They think maybe if they find the woman who escaped the hands of the killer, that maybe Miles will turn back into a normal child again. So that's her plan. But when that plan is kind of foiled, and Miles does actually murder her, and it's a really brutal scene too. He stabs him with a knife and kind of like guts her, and like drags the knife from one end of the stomach to the other, and we see the blood gushing. And yeah, things don't quite work according to plan, And but yeah, so this film does have some nice gore into it. Now let's get into the acting side of things. I will say that this film has some excellent acting, and that's one of the main reasons to go see this film. And Taylor Schilling does an absolutely fantastic job as the mother, Sarah Bloom. And she exhibits all the traits of what a mother should do when you're put in this situation. She just wants to be a good mother. She just wants to find out what's wrong with her child and help him get better. And it's really believable. You really believe her every step of the way, including the end when she totally loses her mind, But you get it, It's well established in the film, and Taylor does a fantastic job. And also, Jackson Robert Scott is one of the finest child actors, I think, in a horror film. One of the best performances by a child actor in a horror film, I would say. He's 100% believable, and he's terrifying, Just those dead eyes, that emotionless stare that he gives, Kind of reminds me of what Michael Myers might be as a young child, just blank stare, nothing there, you know. Just an awesome performance by Jackson Robert Scott. So yeah, the acting is top notch. Now let's get into the score. How about the score of the film? I will say the score is not, it's never like over the top or crazy like an old school Night of the Living Dead or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or anything like that. It's a lot more subtle, but it is very effective. I would say that the film exhibits some of the quieter moments of a film, like The Shining. Something that's very ominous and very creepy. It creates an atmosphere of dread, definitely. So the score is great. Next up is the film scary? And I will say yes, the film is very scary. It's got some great suspense, and I think the performances of the actors make it scary, especially the performance of Miles. Miles is really what makes this film effective and scary, is the performance of Jackson Robert Scott. I will say there are a few jump scares in the film as well, so the film is very well directed by Nicholas McCarthy, and the jump scares are actually earned. They have a nice suspenseful build-up to the jump scare, you know. Next up, guys, is the film worth watching? And why? I will say yes, absolutely this film is worth watching, 100%. And don't just ignore it because it falls into that category of the bad child films. This film is different from those, you know. It's refreshing, and it's exciting, and it's highly worth watching because of the acting, and you got some good gore in there, and you got a great score, and you got a great direction by Nicholas McCarthy. So yes, I would say the film is worth watching. Now, what's my overall rating of the film? I am going to give the Prodigy 2 devil horns, way up. So guys, yes, I highly recommend The Prodigy. I think it's an excellent film and highly underrated, and I think it needs more love. So guys, definitely check out The Prodigy from 2019. And again, I want to say thanks to 3 from the Grave, Movie Massacre, Strange Monkey, and Angela. Thank you guys so much for inviting me to be a special guest on your show. I'm a big fan of your channel. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Urshan, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.